Hi everybody, welcome to Dandelion Cottage and Paper Crafting Saturday. I'm Leslie Watkins. Thank you for joining me today. I'm just wanting to check to make sure that my video is streaming properly because I'm having a little bit of trouble here. So let me just check my settings and see if you can all see and hear me. There we go. Okay, so if anybody saw me earlier, let me know where you were seeing me. Apparently, the um, the live video was streaming to a location that I don't know where it was, so it'll be interesting to find out. So I'm going to start again and let you know that I was unable to be with you on Wednesday because I was having a leaky sink fixed and it was a little bit noisy and distracting here. And so I had to postpone. And what I had intended on doing was sharing with you a painting of these beautiful Christmas roses. And I didn't want them to go to waste without sharing them with you. So I thought that today I would combine painting the Christmas roses along with a quick and easy paper crafting project that you could do with just a few tools. And I'm going to show you those tools. I've got the Best Trio punch, which is a wonderful tag punch, and it has two different corners plus a slot for the ribbon. I'm using the Fluid 100 watercolor paper, which is 140-pound watercolor paper, so it's nice and stiff and makes a wonderful tag. I've already cut that down, so I have a piece here that measures 5 by 2.5, and I'm just going to place the corner in the tag punch just like this, give that a press, and then I'm going to flip the tag over and put the opposite side in the tag punch, and that's going to give me a symmetrical top. Now also we have that paper or ribbon slot, so I'm just going to get that lined up just like so. And just like that, I've got a tag. Now, while I am doing this, I'm going to quickly see if anybody is able to see and hear me here. And I see Kelly. Good morning, Kelly. Sorry I'm a little bit late. I was having some sort of broadcasting issues. And I'm afraid I was broadcasting to a location unknown. So it'll be interesting to find out who could see me and where I was. But it looks like it's all working right now. So I've got two tags here, and you have a choice. You can double them up for a Super Duty heavy tag, but I think that the 140-pound paper is more than sufficient. So I'm going to save one of these tags for later. And I'm going to get my beautiful Christmas roses positioned where I can see them. And there are some beautiful little buds in there. So I'm just going to arrange that so I can see that bud peeking out. And I know you probably can't, from your overhead position, you probably can't see that little bud. But here, let me give you a quick close up here so that you can see what I'm looking at. You see this beautiful bud underneath there? There's actually two. There are two of them. All right, I'm going to get this positioned so hopefully you'll be able to get a good look at what I'm doing without all these shadowy places. Now the colors that I'm using today are red, yellow, and blue. And I've got my palette off to the side here. So there they are, yellow, red, and blue. And because this is pretty small, I've got a smallish brush, so this is a number 4. And I just have a number 2 pencil, and I'm going to begin by lightly sketching my design. And you may not be able to see this very well at first because I am sketching extremely lightly, but as I start painting, the design will emerge. What I was saying earlier when I first started doing the video today, I was saying that I planted my Christmas roses near my wood pile because these flowers will actually bloom under the snow and in freezing temperatures. And so when I go out and get my firewood in the winter, I can look at them and marvel at the ability for these seemingly fragile flowers to withstand those temperatures. And even if there's snow on the ground, you can dig down into the snow and find the flowers blooming under the snow, and that's why they're called Christmas roses. So the botanical name is Helboreus niger, which means white, and there are other varieties that are called the Lenten roses, and those hellebores are available in many different colors, but generally they're sort of in the pinkish purple family of colors, and they bloom a little bit later in the very early spring, right around Lent. So I'm just going. I want to leave a little bit of space in this area for a sentiment, and so I'm going to leave those leaves out so I have room to put a stamp or write somebody's name. And I'll let some of these leaves just kind of trail off. And what's pretty about these leaves and the flower stems is that they've got some sort of deep red and sort of a streaky, speckly pattern, which is very beautiful. Okay, I think that's enough for me to get started. And now I see Teresa. Hey, Teresa, I guess we're working and I'm broadcasting. Nice to see you here. I'm going to start with just a pale yellow, and I'm going to put a little bit of color in the center of my flower. Teresa's tuning in from Baton Rouge, so I don't think she has to worry about flowers under the snow in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And I'm going to add a little bit of blue with my yellow to get a green. And again, I'm going to just paint very lightly and start to indicate the position of some of these leaves. And I can use the leaves as kind of a foil around the edges of the white petals. And what I mean by that is that the tone of the green leaf is going to act as a color change between the white petal and the green, and that can be a very effective way of setting your white flowers off. These leaves have a wonderful kind of a wavy edge, so I want to make sure that I indicate some of those little pointy, wavy areas. And now I think you can start to see what the composition looks like. And I'm following what I'm looking at, but I changed it just a little bit so that it suited the shape of the tag better. So when you're starting out, you want to make sure you know what your dimensions are. So as I said earlier, this is a 2.5 inch by 5 inch piece of the Fluid 100 watercolor paper. And then here I have a stem, and these little flower buds excuse me, have a more of a yellowish green tinge to them where they attach to the stem. So I want to get that a little bit under there. Okay, so there's my beginning. Now, because some of these petals are not well defined because it's just the plain white of the paper, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little mixture, and so I'm going to just I'm just taking what's on my palette here. All right, so I'm just kind of grabbing whatever's there, and I'm getting a kind of a cool grayish tone. And I just want to make that a little more neutral, something like that. Okay, that'll work. And using very little paint, I'm just going to begin to indicate some of the pleats and the folds in these petals. The spaces in between the individual petals where they overlap. And of course, if you don't have a garden and you don't have the Christmas roses, you can go to your supermarket and just go to the florist section if it has one, and pick out some white flowers and just practice. It's a wonderful way to spend time and do a lot of them. I always recommend that you work from life rather than from a photograph, because that way you'll be able to see the form, and you can see the shadows and how the light moves across the subject, and that's very important. Now I'm going back into my leaves a little bit and getting some of my darker areas established. And this does not have to be a hours long exercise. You can just this is remember, it's just a little gift tag, so it doesn't have to be perfect. All right, don't worry if you get some drips or color where you didn't intend or whatever. We call those happy accidents, and they're just going to speak to the spontaneity of the watercolor. And if you're a paper crafter, if you're using water-based inks to replenish your stamp pads, then you can do the same kind of painting with your inks and get a wonderful result. So practice with your inks as well. I would just use maybe a white dinner plate or some some rigid white plastic as a palette. Maybe you've got a little palette, and you can just put just a couple of drops of ink down. You don't need much. All right, so I'm going to zoom you in a little bit closer so you can get a better look at how this is coming along. I'm running out of blue paint. I've got to replenish my paint later. But we've got enough for today's picture. I had a wonderful time painting in New York on Sunday. It was so good to see so many friends and team members. I got to see Anne and Candy. It was really, really amazing to finally meet Candy, who I'd only Zoomed with in the past. So that was wonderful. But I am going to go back into seclusion now because I'm hearing accounts of lots of people getting sick. So don't let your guard down just yet. It's too soon, and the holidays are going to be a challenging time to keep everybody safe and healthy. All right, so I've got one more little leaf here that needs some attention. There we go. All right, now I'm going to take a darker green mixture. I'm just going to put a couple of little accents in here, and this should begin to start looking like something. And you want to keep working all over your picture at once. So don't just get stuck on one area. Keep moving. And if you'd like to learn much more about painting with ink and with watercolors, there's still time to register for this month's Watercolor Card Club. The subscription period closes on the 15th. So you've got another few days, and I will post all the information below so that you can just click on the link and find out all about it. I'd love to have you. This is a very special session because just this month only, you're also going to be able to have access to the last 2 months where I showed you how to paint holly and mistletoe. So it's kind of a 3-for-1. So you want to, if it's something that you've been wanting to do, this would be a great time to do it. It includes a membership to our Facebook group where you can post your pictures and ask questions. You can see what everybody else is doing. And we also have a live Zoom. So our special holiday Zoom is going to be later this week. So you'll be invited to that, and that's coming right up. And you can get a critique and get a little preview of what's coming up and meet everybody else. And it's a lot of fun, something that I think we all look forward to each month. So that's the Watercolor Card Club. And then, of course, if you're on my design team, the Dandelion Cottage design team, which is having our Christmas party this week as well, so I've got a lot of things to get ready. But the team members get the Watercolor Card Club for free every month. So if you are interested in that, I will post that information below as well. All right, so I want to add a little bit of background. I'm going to take a kind of a blue-violet mixture. So I'm taking my blue with a little bit of red, and I'm just going to, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little tone sort of in these areas behind some of these petals so that they stand out a little bit more. And that blue violet is going to look really nice with the yellow greens in the leaves. It's going to act as a complementary color to those. I'm just going to let that fade off like a little vignette, like so. Put that in these spaces in between. And we'll do some over here. Now, in this instance, I am painting with very little water. So the painting is going to dry pretty quickly, considering I've got the wood burning fire going. So it's on the dry side in here. And I should be able to finish my tag while you're watching. Okay, now let's get into the center of this gorgeous blossom here. We want to capture some of the texture of all these anthers with all the pollen. I'm just going to sort of put a few strokes in there to kind of indicate that texture. There we go. And there's a little bit of that kind of yellow green down at the base. I can put a couple of touches of that. And then finally, I'm going to go back into that neutral mixture and just put a couple more shadows on my petals just to show these beautiful little wrinkles that they have. Get my bud. And the I had mentioned that these stems have a little bit of a kind of a reddish speckling. So I've got a little bit of a stem peeking through here. So I'm just going to get some of that reddish tone on there because that's going to help make all these other colors stand out. There we go. Okay, so that is my little Christmas rose picture. I'm just going to add a little more shadow over there. There we go. Okay, so there's my tag. And while you're looking at that, I'm going to grab a stamp and see if I can find something that I like. I know I like that Merry Christmas from the Mistletoe Magic. So I really, this year, this was my favorite Merry Christmas stamp. So I'm going to go ahead and use that. And actually, I think what I want to do is gold heat emboss this. So let's see, I may not be plugged in here. Let me check my plug. Okay, hold on a second while I plug in my heat tool. And get my powder. I'm going to zoom you out. Now for this, I'm using my embossing buddy, which is a little pillow with some pumice in it, and this is going to help prevent the powder from getting all over. And I do want to be careful here because the powder could stick to the watercolor paint, so I'm going to be a little more careful than usual today and hopefully not make a mess. And let's get this going right side up. I'm using the Versamark ink. And I'm going to put this, I want to make sure that this area is nice and dry here. So I'm just going to go ahead, put extra embossing buddy there, and fingers crossed, we'll see if this makes a clean impression. And just to be on the safe side, I'm going to grab a Post-it note and I'm just going to mask off some of my painted area. It's pretty good, not too bad. Now I have a bristle paintbrush that I like to use to clean up any powder that may have gotten where I don't want it. But actually this Looks very good, thanks to the embossing buddy. All right, so I'm going to mute you for just a moment while I turn on my noisy heat tool. Okay, so I just want to point out that I was lucky and very careful to get that heat embossing powder just where I wanted it so that it didn't stick with the watercolor. But what I would recommend that you do, because this was an afterthought for me, I wasn't planning on doing that, but what you should do would be to use your heat embossing first before you start painting. That way you won't have to worry about having any issues. So there's my tag. I'm going to find some ribbon, and I think for this one, gold ribbon would be nice. So I'm just going to get a little length of my ribbon. This particular ribbon is called the satin edged ribbon, and it's very pretty. It's got a very vanilla satin edge and a beautiful gold double pinstripe running through it. I'm just going to pop that through my tag like so. And there it is. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that. If you're somebody that likes to do both watercolor and paper crafting, this is the perfect project for you. And again, that best trio tag punch is a terrific tool to have. That's something that's going to be staying nearby, I think, throughout the year. So thank you so much for joining me today. Remember that there's still time to sign up for the Watercolor Card Club. You can do that right up until the 15th of this month. I will put the link below so that you can learn all about it. It's a subscription card club. You can cancel anytime you like. And also, I will post information about joining my Dandelion Cottage design team. I'd love to have you join us. This is a great time to join because we've got a lot of goodies coming up throughout the winter. So stay well, stay creative, stay happy, and I will see you next time.